Harry's in trouble, and the thing that lets him down is his brain. If he's got one.
A $60 million financial nightmare, a mansion that could allegedly end up with a for sale sign outside, and whispers of a marriage drifting toward disaster. This is the brutal storm now being painted around Harry and Meghan, and the deeper you look, the more explosive the picture becomes. According to the claims being discussed, the glittering Montecito lifestyle may suddenly be facing a reality nobody expected: enormous financial pressure. Harry is reportedly staring at consequences estimated at up to $60 million, while Meghan appears, at least according to the speculation surrounding the couple, to be moving further away emotionally. And that immediately creates the question nobody can ignore. If the money keeps disappearing, if the legal defeats keep stacking up, and if the lifestyle becomes harder to maintain, what happens to the marriage? Because this story does not begin with one bad decision. It begins with a gamble that apparently went horribly wrong.
Could the Montecito mansion soon have a for sale sign in front of it? Harry and Meghan are facing a devastatingly large legal bill after the Duke lost his legal case against the Daily Mail.
The expectation was enormous. The belief, according to the account being presented, was that winning the case could mean receiving millions money capable of helping preserve that extraordinarily expensive Montecito existence. Think about the stakes behind that calculation. This was not being portrayed simply as a courtroom argument about principle. Financially, victory potentially represented relief. But then came the result. And instead of a jackpot, there was reportedly a financial crater opening underneath everything.
Associated Newspapers Limited, the publishers of the Daily Mail and the Mail on Sunday, to court. They were suing them for a breach of privacy.
The case ended against him, and suddenly the dream of receiving money reportedly transformed into the possibility of massive legal costs. Claims surrounding the consequences began reaching into the tens of millions. That is the twist that changes everything. Because losing a major legal battle does not necessarily mean simply walking away disappointed. There can be bills, there can be costs, there can be consequences that continue long after everybody leaves the courtroom. And just when it might have seemed logical to retreat, regroup, and protect whatever remained, another battle was already sitting on the table.
Breaking right now, an extraordinary courtroom verdict. Prince Harry has lost his £50 million case against the Daily Mail.
Harry didn't stop there. The next confrontation involved the British government and the removal of taxpayer-funded security whenever he visited the United Kingdom. Again, the stakes were enormous. Again, the outcome went against him. And again, additional legal expenses reportedly followed. Suddenly, those separate courtroom defeats were no longer isolated incidents, they were becoming a pattern. And the reported combined financial burden climbed toward that staggering estimated $60 million figure. This is where the situation becomes especially uncomfortable. Lose the case, and the damage may extend beyond your own lawyers, because a losing party can sometimes be required to contribute substantially toward the opposing side's costs. In other words, the courtroom doors may close while the financial meter keeps running. Whatever the strategy was supposed to achieve, Harry was reportedly unable to escape the consequences created by years of litigation. Yet the most surprising detail is the apparent refusal to abandon the fight. The picture being presented is of someone seemingly convinced that another attempt could eventually produce the victory capable of reversing the damage. But how many defeats can one person absorb while waiting for that breakthrough? How much money can disappear before persistence begins looking dangerously expensive? And what happens when the victory expected to restore everything simply never arrives? Instead of disappearing from the controversy and quietly rebuilding after those defeats, Harry continued criticizing the outcomes. Losing clearly appeared difficult to accept. According to the narrative surrounding these cases, those hoped for legal victories were supposed to provide desperately needed financial relief. The expectation was money coming in. The reported reality became money going out. And that reversal is absolutely devastating to the larger picture, because every additional expense potentially increases pressure elsewhere on the mansion, on future projects, on personal stability, and inevitably on relationships. Now, the controversy becomes even more delicate. The apparent meltdown is being discussed as something extending beyond finances finances and into public reactions to courtroom defeat. Repeatedly challenging legal outcomes inevitably creates wider conversations about confidence in the judicial process, especially when frustration becomes increasingly visible. And that is where this story stops looking like one unfortunate lawsuit and begins looking like an escalating chain reaction. Legal defeat feeding financial pressure feeding frustration, and frustration creating even more controversy. The terrifying question is what comes next, because another enormous obligation is already approaching, and this one carries a name, a date, and potentially another gigantic financial burden. And now the pressure crashes into another sensitive territory, the 2027 Invictus Games in Birmingham. The event needs serious funding, yet the source describes weakening sponsorship opportunities and speculation that Harry could eventually be forced to contribute substantially more personally if outside money becomes harder to secure. The disturbing irony is that the Invictus Games exists for a deeply meaningful purpose, yet criticism surrounding the organization has reportedly intensified ahead of its return to the UK, with questions about public enthusiasm, staffing problems, and whether attention has shifted away from wounded veterans toward Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. And while that debate grows louder, the financial clock around the Montecito lifestyle keeps ticking. Mansion maintenance, private security, property taxes, insurance, mortgages, and legal expenses do not disappear simply because income becomes uncertain. According to the source, some estimates place legal fees around $38 million, creating speculation that selling the mansion could eventually become an option if maintaining it becomes overwhelming. Then comes another enormous crack in the financial foundation: media money. Harry and Meghan once appeared positioned to turn enormous public attention into a powerful entertainment empire, but the source claims their Netflix projects never produced the sustained success originally expected. Instead of becoming an unstoppable long-term income machine, momentum reportedly weakened. Then came the dramatic declaration, "Netflix dump Harry, and Meghan." The Mark Dolan show claimed the renewed Netflix arrangement was significantly smaller and being wound down, with unnamed media insiders reportedly saying the streaming company was finished with the couple. Meanwhile, Meghan's business ventures are described as struggling for consistent traction, with criticism surrounding products including wickless candles and branded matches. The source even raises the mocking question of whether Meg's brand has effectively been rejected in Montecito. And while commercial uncertainty grows, another emotional fracture allegedly becomes impossible to ignore: family. Harry's frustration is portrayed as intensifying because reconciliation with the royal family has made little progress. For Harry, reconnecting might offer stability, yet the distance with King Charles appears wider. Communication with Prince William reportedly remains extremely limited, and Harry appears increasingly isolated. Then comes that painfully revealing public admission about wanting reconciliation, believing continued fighting serves no purpose, worrying about how much time his father has left, and acknowledging that the security dispute remains between them. But then the story reaches the question hanging over everything: marriage. Meghan entered a relationship that brought global fame, royal connections, and extraordinary opportunities, yet the future described now looks dramatically different. Harry faces legal defeats, financial pressure, and uncertainty, while Meghan is portrayed as confronting instability rather than endless expansion. Then comes the explosive accusation from the source that money motivated the marriage, followed by claims that discovering Prince Harry possessed far less personal wealth than imagined became a disappointment. Prince Harry appears again at the center of that allegation, and suddenly speculation about divorce becomes impossible for critics to resist. Some suggest Meghan could eventually leave if the lifestyle she expected becomes impossible, while uncertainty surrounding the Invictus Games only adds another layer of pressure. Then Chris enters the discussion as financial independence and the Netflix deals are debated, before attention returns to an increasingly separate professional existence. Harry and Meghan reportedly pursue different projects and travel independently more often, creating speculation that the public closeness once associated with the marriage has faded. Assets could reportedly be sold, staffing reduced, and major cost-cutting introduced. There are even unconfirmed claims about a possible move to Malibu. And so everything circles back to one final uncomfortable mystery: can Harry rebuild financially, repair family relationships, and restore stability, or does every mounting pressure push the marriage closer toward the outcome everyone keeps whispering about? Divorce. The court battles may be ending, the deals may be changing, and the mansion may or may not ever be sold, but the biggest question surrounding this story remains dangerously unresolved.